Raw is Netflix. Oh, it feels good to see that. It's 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. And it is predictions time because, well, the Raw debut on Netflix is going to be massive. It is treated like a WrestleMania card. There are some big matches that have been announced for the show. We've got a big return, of course, a farewell tour starting as well. We've got a live performance. So let's dive in of what you can see on this debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Tribal Combat will be taking place. Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa to see who truly is the head of the table. We've got main event Jey Uso going against the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre. We've got the Women's World Championship on the line. Liv Morgan going against Rhea Ripley. And yes, the main event of the show, a match that many people thought would be a main event at WrestleMania, is CM Punk going against Seth Freakin Rollins. Not to mention, John Cena will be on this show. Like I said, the farewell tour will begin. Travis Scott will be doing a live performance as well. And myself and Alex Steve will be taking your comments throughout this video as well. We'll know your predictions, your thoughts on Raw being on Netflix. If you're watching on Netflix, what your thoughts of it so far. We'll be diving in what we think of it later in the video as well. And Steve, welcome to the video. Raw on Netflix. I am buzzing for the 6th.
Dude, happy new year to you. And yes, so dude, just the integration alone of the network onto Netflix, like we was all kind of like, it's not going to be the same as the network. It's going to be very underwhelming. Come 1st of January, you turn on and dude, there's so much on there that I was not expecting. Like the whole back catalogue, I think, of NXT is on there. I know there's some years missing off Raw and SmackDown, but dude, it's got like every Rumble, every Mania, every SummerSlam, every Survivor Series, every sort of like B-list pay-per-view in between on there. It's like they've done a fantastic job of integrating it onto the network. I'm thoroughly surprised, dude, I mean, like we was concerned when we was talking about this last year about, are we still going to be able to do retro reviews? Because, we don't know what's going to be on there. I mean, initially we thought like it would be a case of like month by month. So for instance, this month is Rumble season. So, there'll be like about 10 classic Rumbles on there you can go and watch. But dude, there's so much on there. And I'm like thoroughly impressed. I'm like, I just can't wait for it. Oh, as well, you actually have missed one match off of Raw tomorrow night as well. Or Monday night. It's the New Day versus LWO.
That is confirmed, is it? Because looking on WWE, I didn't see that match was confirmed, but obviously there's been speculation on it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about who Rey Mysterio's partner is going to be. I think we've both got a very clear idea of who it just might be. Someone that could be making a debut maybe in the company. We'll have to wait and see. Shout out to Noob and Co in the house already. Millennial Noob, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone that is watching so far as well. Hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well. And I've got to say, agree with the man next to me, NXT Steve, around 200 PLEs already on Netflix, and there is expected to be more additions each and every month. I've seen Armageddon 1999 is coming in the month of February. Apparently, we've got another I think it's Ground Zero or Breakdown, one of those in your house shows coming in March. So there's a lot of things on the way, which I'm really excited for. And it means, like you say, retro content will be on the way on this channel. And just quickly, Royal Rumble watch-alongs will be possible this month.
The other thing do you know what I think it might be? Is it possibly like there's stuff on them shows that maybe has to be edited out before they go up onto the network, before they go up onto Netflix? Because, you know what I mean? Like, he who shall not be named, like, is he still mentioned on them? Because I've not even actually checked. Like, if his name, like, obviously it was erased from WWE years ago and it's never been on there since. And it's kind of like, I've not actually checked Netflix to see if his name's been mentioned at all. So that's actually something interesting. I've just thought off the top of my head. But yeah, dude, even the fact that they've made a whole new YouTube channel, WWE Vault, and they're kind of adding all their other homemade like products and stuff onto that YouTube channel. So you get like the CM Punk documentary and like everything else they've kind of made that was on the network. If it's not going to be on Netflix, it's going to be on their YouTube channel, free to watch.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's great stuff for content there. Like you said, there could be tweaks and maybe a little of things changing here and there. But I've seen the 2004 Royal Rumble is available to watch on there right now. So he who shouldn't be named probably is still going to be featured in some way on there. Roy is in the house. It says Happy New Year to us. Roy, Happy New Year to you. Hope 2025 is a great year for you, as along for everyone watching as well. And this means it's probably a great start for all of us. Speaking of this, £119.88, the saving of the year now that the network has gone. Absolutely. Probably knowing me, I'll probably spend it something on Probably crap, to be fair. I probably would use it on something different.
The wife is paying for the Netflix now, so it's like, oh, do you know
Ooh,
what I mean, I think it might be actually have to be a case of we actually upgrade the Netflix package so we can have separate accounts because the amount of I'm going to watch it, everything my wife's going to click on Netflix is just going to be recommending like Royal Rumble '97, Survivor Series 2003. I think she's just going to get wound up with it.
could happen, could happen. Maybe HBO Max could be in my future. You never know. Maybe a VPN might be needed too, seeing it currently not seemingly international for that from the AEW side. But anyway, we're not talking AEW today. We are going to be talking Raw on Netflix. So we'll start with our predictions. We'll go into your questions later in the video as well. And of course, to finish things off, we'll give our top recommendations for Netflix, what you should go out and watch, especially maybe if you're watching WWE for the first time. I think a lot of people with us today currently, they've watched a lot of WWE, so that'll be a separate clip for a different video for another time for those people as well. Anyway, let's dive into it. Let's go into our first match then on the show. Let's start big time with some tribal combat. Let's talk about Roman Reigns going against Solo Sikoa. Of course, Bloodline versus Bloodline, if you will. It is leader versus leader. And hopefully this one could be coming to a close because obviously Solo Sikoa has been walking around with the Uber Fowler now for quite some time. Of course, he is now been proclaiming himself as the tribal chief. Roman Reigns, of course, since coming back, has looked to try and get one up on Solo Sikoa. Has been unsuccessful, a crown jewel. In fact, he was pinned by Solo on that show in the six-man tag team match. However, Roman did get the pinfall over Solo in War Games. You could argue that this one is the rubber match. Is Solo and his bloodline going to live to fight another day, or is Roman Reigns going to close this chapter and move on to something different for WrestleMania Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, dude, we are so in limbo with WrestleMania plans alone. Like, do you know what I mean? For fun, we tried guessing what the Mania card was going to be back in April, and we did it recently. And even more recently, we still didn't have a clue as to who Roman Reigns would be facing at WrestleMania, who Cody would be facing at WrestleMania. And this as well, like, depending on the result, what does this mean for WrestleMania? I honestly, dude, it's this one because it's a Raw. I'm gonna go with a no contest, and I think that this can't. No, actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna say Roman wins. Because I think there's a bigger story to be told for WrestleMania, and I think for that story to happen, Roman Reigns has to win this. But like I said, because it's a Raw, all these matches could end up as no contests, and we get no winners throughout the entire night whatsoever.
How disappointing of a video would that be if we go throughout the whole thing? DQ,
No
count
contest.
out, tribal combat just never got a result. Yeah, it would be very disappointing, wouldn't it? However, I'm with you. While they could do shenanigans, and they should do to build stories on if they're going to look to continue some of these rivalries. Although I think for a number of them, I think people are ready to move on. I think that's the big thing. Look, from 2-3 months ago, I was adamant it'll be Reigns versus Solo at WrestleMania. However, Survivor Series happened. I think a lot of people want to see Roman Reigns versus CM Punk now. I think a lot of people still be open to the idea of Reigns versus The Rock. Of course, it's Vegas after all. There's just bigger matches out there than Solo Sikoa. Even Jacob Fatu feels more exciting than Solo Sikoa in a match, to be honest, at this point for WrestleMania. So I think they're doing this here. I think they're going to close the chapter off. The new bloodline technically has been going against the SmackDown mid-card anyway since Survivor Series, if you want. I mean, obviously Apollo Crews and Andrade, LA Knight, bless him as well, in the six-man tag team match recently on SmackDown. So yeah, I think Reigns, it's a different level. It's a different ball game. It feels like a big pay-per-view match to have on the opening show of Netflix. However, I think Roman Reigns is going to win this. It's going to close that chapter. Reigns can start moving on to the Royal Rumble. And I actually believe that the other members then of the new bloodline can start losing faith in Solo. And I think that gives them a nice storyline direction to move off into, because does Solo get kicked out by Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu? Do they keep along for a meantime while they keep failing? And Solo is the one that keeps letting them down. One thing I will remain to what I've said for those long-term viewers of this channel will know that I said Solo is kind of, he's not fitting the shoes of being someone that is meant to be the head of the table, the tribal chief. And I think this hiccup could be one too many. And I think this is where we start the spiral, if you want, to the breakdown of the new bloodline, and Roman Reigns can move on to potentially winning a Royal Rumble. You never know. Could be a CM Punk, could be a Rock, could be whoever at WrestleMania Vegas. So yeah, that's my prediction. Roman to pick up the win here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you, dude. Roman is unfortunately the bigger star, and it kind of means that with WrestleMania only a couple of months away, that they must have some idea as to what they're doing at WrestleMania. And I don't think Solo versus Roman at Mania is a bigger draw as what it could be. And like you said, Jacob Fatu, I mean, dude, that's why I gave him Breakout Star of the Year. I think he's automatically become bigger than Solo. And if someone who's been in the company 6 months is already a bigger star than you, I just don't think he's I don't think Solo's the big enough draw at the moment. So yeah, they need to do something. Whether it could end up with maybe Solo versus Jacob at WrestleMania, who knows? Like maybe that plays into it. But dude, I'm the same as you. I think Roman is going to win this, and we will get the OTC back.
Yep, I think it's the way it's going to go down. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. But we are going to go for Roman Reigns to pick up the win then in Tribal Combat. Before we go into the comments, it'll move us on to the second match of the show that we're talking about. Speaking of Bloodline matters, let's talk about main event Jey Uso going against Drew McIntyre. Of course, Drew McIntyre has been upset with everyone that has been helping Roman Reigns. And of course, he's not been happy with Jey Uso pretty much since Jey Uso came to Monday Night Raw over a year ago. These two have had countless encounters throughout that time. Drew obviously making his return. He's picked up victories over Sami Zayn. He was the one that attacked Jey Uso backstage as well. So it feels like at this particular moment that it felt worthy to put another match here on this show, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso, to do this dance one more time. I'm quite looking forward to this one. I think low-key this could be the match that could open the show. I think Jey Uso's got that hot killer entrance as we've talked about previously. We've had our entrance of the year last year. Drew McIntyre is spitting out the truth. However, he does it in such a heelish way. A lot of people, I can't remember it was on commentary. I want to say it was Wade Barrett that said this on commentary. There are people that are speaking truth in WWE, but are not getting the respect from the fans. Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Seth Freakin Rollins. Are we teasing something for the future here with these three?
New NWO, brother. Like, dude, we joked about it like 2 months ago about saying, like, wouldn't it just be crazy if they threw them three together in a faction? And you sit there and think about it, and then since then people have put like NWO fanboy pictures out of the three of them in NWO shirts, and it's kind of, dude, it would be so cool to have, like, even like I wouldn't mind them bringing back the NWO. Do you know what I mean? They love to plagiarize their old stuff, and obviously NWO is like WCW's biggest selling t-shirt in history, I believe. Do you know what I mean? So it's another reason for them to like milk some more money out of the merchandise and go that way. But the idea in itself is crazy. But I don't know. It could be a point we get there, but I think that this year is going to be a big year for Drew McIntyre. Unfortunately, I think Jey Uso is going to be the first victim, because I think Drew is going to go on to have an amazing year this year. He's kind of like, he's taken the L's from Punk last year. He's kind of been like the loser for most parts. He's gone away. He's reevaluated. He's come back, and I reckon 2025 is going to be his year. I think at some point this year he's going to be back in the title scene. He could even be world champion in front of a crowd. How shocking would that be? Because the last time that we saw him do that was in pandemic, when he was opening shows to no one. So that's what we're like. Well, aside from WrestleMania last year, where he was champ for like 4 minutes. But yeah, we don't talk about that anymore. But yeah, I mean, I reckon this year's going to be a big year for Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I mean, Drew was his own worst enemy last year, wasn't he? And every time he got himself to that area where he could be world champion, he seemed to get CM Punk stopping him from getting over the line. So now that those two have closed off their feud, I would agree with you. I think Drew is going to become a world champion in 2025. And I think when I look at this show, not to give away some of my results for later on, I think that this could be a show where we could close off some rivalries. That's what I will say, to move to the new direction of what they're going to do, maybe for either a final match of Saturday night's main event, or certainly a clear path for the Royal Rumble, Chamber, WrestleMania. You've got it. This is one of those few matches that I feel could be something that could prolong going forward. We talked about a Roman Reigns opponent for WrestleMania. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Drew McIntyre, to be brutally honest, at this point, with the way that Drew's storytelling is going. And if he's going through people right now that has been aligned with Roman Reigns, Jey Uso is just the next one on that list. And I think that I agree with you. I think Drew is picking up the win here. I don't see a new stable or new faction being made on the first Raw on Netflix. But one thing's for sure, we might have someone move over in the transfer window. Could Kevin Owens be a new member for Monday Night Raw at some point?
Dude, possibly. I mean, look, we're lucky over here in the UK. The fact that Raw, SmackDown, and NXT are all going to be on Netflix. It's only like the US that's going to suffer with that. But dude, it's a powerhouse faction. But I just want to go back to a moment you made a minute ago about the Royal Rumble, because obviously, again, with Drew, no idea what the idea is and for him to face at WrestleMania. But the fact that we're going into Royal Rumble season and we don't have like one or two names, we've got like 10 potential winners of the Royal Rumble this year, and that is really exciting to me because Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. And as a kid growing up, obviously dirt sheets weren't really so much a thing, so it's kind of like there was all the excitement of like you don't know who's going to be in the Rumble, and then like every year it kind of was a bit obvious, and then everyone started winning it. But this year you're going into it, dude, like I said, there's like 10 names off the top of my head I can already think that have the potential to win the Royal Rumble. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting, man. And that, like, as long as they don't spoil and give me like the picture of all 30 superstars who are going to be in the Rumble, because that's my biggest gripe with the Rumble is, oh, here is the Royal Rumble match, he's going to be in it. I don't want to know who's going to be in it. I want the surprise. I want the genuine reaction.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think this is the most wide open year for Royal Rumble in quite a few years. So I'm excited to see how it's going to go. Drew is certainly one of those names that could be in the frame that you could say that's definitely someone I could see in the final four. Potentially could be an outside chance of winning. But yeah, I'll be interested to know, people, if you're watching this live right now, and even if you're watching on delay, let us know who is your early prediction to win the Royal Rumble. We will call all of them up on our screen for us right now. And in fact, we're going to go into the chat right now. We're going to switch to you and see some of your questions and what you've been saying. So we've got Aries, Wrestling Entertainment in here with the action figures. Says, my question is, who would win between Julia and Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship? I believe for New Year's Evil, not Halloween Havoc, but New Year's Evil, of course, will be taking place. And that'll be the first show for NXT, of course, on Netflix as well. NXT, do you care to give an early prediction, or should we save it for another day?
Aries is a time traveler, apparently, because he's either going back to Halloween Havoc or he's going forward to Halloween Havoc. But I mean, Julia is the easy answer. But it's at this point where it's like Roxanne Perez has been champion for so long that I could see her holding it until Stand and Deliver, and they basically make her I don't know if she's where she is on the scale of longest reigning NXT Women's Champion of all time, but that's such a hard match to call because, I mean, every time we've got to an NXT pay-per-view, I've always gone against Roxanne Perez because it's always felt like that time, but she just remains a champion. And it's the same with this one. Like, Julia is the easy answer, but it's Roxanne Perez and she's been booked so strong, and I can see her holding it because, I mean, she could lose it and be a surprise entrance in the Rumble, which would be fantastic. But like I said, if they could push her all the way to WrestleMania season and have her come in Raw or SmackDown after Mania.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think it all comes down to this transfer window. Like, Roxanne Perez is the one you go, I call her up, because obviously, even though Julia's ready in ring, they probably still want to have more of a presentation for her in amongst the WWE world, like obviously present more on Netflix, NXT, carry the brand, that sort of stuff. Where Roxanne, you could see her coming to a Raw or SmackDown tomorrow, it would not surprise me at all. So for that reason, at the moment, I do favour Julia. But like you say, I wouldn't be surprised. Perez has held on the title for so long now. To keep it to Stand and Deliver is not out of sight. I think it depends when she's getting that call up.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think Roxanne Perez probably still makes an appearance at the Rumble. The only thing I would go against her coming up from after the Rumble and being on the roster from this transfer window is the fact that where does she fit in on the roster? Because the main event scenes are kind of already set with the women's heavyweight and world heavyweight championships. You've got these new mid-card championships. Obviously, I think, isn't the IC title supposed to be finding that tomorrow night who wins that as well? So that's another match that could potentially be on the card. And it's kind of like, where do you put Roxanne Perez in there? Bearing in mind we're 3 months off of Mania, maybe it's safer to wait till after Mania. Fresh year for WWE. She comes in, brand new star. She comes off this fantastic run as NXT Women's Champion. So I would actually be more for her coming in after Mania.
Interesting. Well, time will tell where it is, but thanks for the question. That's certainly got us thinking already ahead for New Year's Eve as well. Jerry wants an Ulafala. Let's see if we can buy one. Maybe WWE Shop has that for you. I'm not sure. I have to check the website and look. Have we got any New Year's resolutions?
Do you know what? I normally don't do them because I never do them. I think in general, I'm just going to try and be a better person to myself and to everyone else. I think that's probably the best thing I can do. That's the easiest thing for me to do because it just requires me to be a better human being.
There you go. That's a nice one. That's a nice one to do. I don't really have one either, to be fair, but I will try and proclaim one now. I will try and be with you all as often as possible.
I'll try and watch more AEW this year.
We need Max. That's what we need. We need Max. Noob says Roman Reigns beating Solo Sikoa. Sid also thinks that Seth will turn heel when it comes to this show. We're talking about Rollins and Punk later on in the video. Roy says LWO is ripping off the NWO. Could say that, but I mean, LWO, of course, was a part of when the NWO was actually a thing in WCW in 1998 originally. Of course, the WWE is doing that right now, and you could say, yes, it is working as well in that process. But I'd love to see an NWO-style reunion now in 2024 as well. Not with the old members, of course, but the idea you mentioned with a new style group as well. Jey Uso for the win for Noob. Actually, we've got Roy here saying that I think Sami Zayn will help Jey Uso win. Kind of makes sense indeed. Mex, the WrestleMania UK is in the house. Mex, hope you're doing well, my friend. Good to see you in the chat. This is a big year for McIntyre ahead. Certainly agree there. Jesse says Io Sky and Drew. SER. I'm going Drew for the win. Not sure with Io Sky. But says Roy says, I think that John Cena will. Sorry?
I think that's for the IC title.
I see. Well, she's out of that now. Yeah, she's out of that now. It's
I don't know.
Lyra and Dakota's in the final, and that would take us on the
Io
week.
for the Rumble winner. Io for the Rumble winner. There we go.
That makes sense. That'll make a lot of sense. There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jesse, for that. Roy says John Cena to win the Royal Rumble. And nice as well. Got your channel in the recommended on YouTube. That's good to see YouTube doing the job. And
the
Roy,
algorithm works.
Thanks, absolutely. I'm pleased you give us a chance as well. It's good to have you here, and glad. I'm hoping you're enjoying it so far. Also, wants to see Natalya win a title in 2025. Favorite all-time women's wrestler? Well, certainly the mid-card could be an option now. We've got mid-card titles, and she's been doing some work with NXT in 2024, so maybe she could always have a call down to NXT as well. Maybe help some of the younger talent also.
Yeah, man, she definitely has her place on the roster where she is that locker room leader. And if you ever want someone to come in and do a solid job for a title run for 1, 2, 3 months, do you know what I mean? Natalya's always been there to fill in that spot, ideally.
Absolutely, indeed. It'd be interesting to see what she will do in 2025. I always feel she's underrated and gets far too much hate. That's just always been my personal opinion. But fun to talk about women's championships. It leads us nicely.
I think she has the stigma of the Divas era because she's been a part of that. And I think where we've obviously transitioned into the women's evolution and we have all these new superstars, and Natalya kind of is the last of a dying breed, essentially, when it comes to female wrestlers. Like, she is part of that old Divas era. And I think that's probably why.
It's a really good point you make there with that, actually. I think that probably does rub a lot of people the wrong way, probably leads to a lot of the hate that she gets. But she's always decent in rings. She does have good matches. So, yeah, she's solid.
Yeah.
Speaking of solid workers, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship will be taking place on this debut episode on Netflix. A feud that's been going for, well, a bloody long time. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Obviously, Liv Morgan originally injured. Yeah, it's even longer. I mean, if you look with Liv Morgan's injury, she was out for like 6 months with that initial chair shot to the arm, of course.
Doesn't it actually go back to the Rumble 2 years ago? Because weren't they the final two from 2022?
Oh, 23. Yeah, they were. They were the final two.
That's
Liv Morgan's
this is
gone
2-year rivalry.
Yeah, 2-year rivalry. Fair, there you go. So 2-year rivalry, because they were sort of tag team partners as well at one point before the breakup took place. So yeah, obviously Liv Morgan made the return afterwards because Rhea was champion and dominating the division. And well, if you can't beat them, injure them was Liv Morgan's way at that point, throwing a chair at her. Obviously taking out her arm as well backstage. Rhea was out for a little while, and during that period, Liv took everything away from Rhea, of course, winning the Women's World Championship, of course, against Becky Lynch. Of course, that was at King and Queen of the Ring last year. After that, she took the Judgment Day, and she took Dirty Dominic Mysterio, her man, as well. Rhea Ripley has come back and since has not been able to win the championship. She's had a lot of obstacles in the way, but she did pick up a win over Liv Morgan inside of War Games at Survivor Series. It now led to Rhea Ripley being the #1 contender. She's beat Raquel Rodriguez in a fun little main event on Raw a couple of weeks ago. And here we are. It's the Women's World Championship. Some would say this needs to end. I have a feeling as a one-on-one match, it probably should end here. But the question is, which way is it going? NXT, if we can pass over to you.
Again, dude, with the fact that I haven't got a Scooby with how WrestleMania planning is going, like I could easily say no contest because I don't know. I mean, I think ideally, I think the problem is that if you put that title on Rhea, Liv struggles to get on the Mania card. I think if the title stays on Liv, Rhea gets on the Mania card regardless of whether she has a title or not, whether it be something that comes out of the Royal Rumble, whether there's interaction with another superstar, whatever. But I think, like I said, if you take that title, put it on Rhea, Liv struggles to get on the card somewhere. I mean, I know they're doing this whole tease of the Judgment Day, break it up. They're not breaking up anytime soon. They've just given them brand new music. Seems really pointless to pay to have someone make them a brand new song and then break them up. Hey, I could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I'm going to say Liv retains because I think there is a bigger plan for WrestleMania, and like I said, I want to get Liv on that WrestleMania card. And at the minute, I think if you take that title off of her, she struggles to get on it.
Interesting. Yeah, so this was something I was a little bit concerned about as well with Liv Morgan. Is that I mean, WWE is saying that she had the capability of being proclaimed Wrestler of the Year. They're really impressed with what she's been doing. Obviously, character work, she's broken out. Sorry?
I did name her my Wrestler of the Year for some reason when it should have been Roxanne Perez.
Well, you did, but to be fair, I think she's had a call from a lot of people. A lot of places I've looked have said Liv Morgan, Women's Wrestler of the Year, and so it's not been one person that said it. And when you look at it with Liv Morgan, I feel that she is someone that I think if she was to miss out on a WrestleMania card now, how unlucky when you've done that much work. Because before you mentioned about that Royal Rumble, and she was runner-up last year as well. It was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And then when you look at it, now she's got herself from being in a conversation where people hoped she'd be in a WrestleMania match to where now, I think if she was in one, people wouldn't question it. I think if she walked in as Women's World Champion, people go, well, yeah, Liv Morgan's been champion for like nearly a year. It feels right. So I do wonder what happens if she loses this match. However, this is what I'm going to propose. Speaking of the words bridesmaids. But anyway, I think that Rhea Ripley's going to win this match. I think that we've had so many different obstacles. We've had so many points where Dominic's cost Rhea from winning the match, helping Liv win. We've had Raquel cause a weird DQ at Bad Blood. I think there should be no things in the way this time. I think Rhea needs to win and win the title back. What I'm going to suggest alternatively is that I think after this match, we are going to wonder if Liv Morgan's going to get back involved, because I'm going to talk about my first return here. I think Becky Lynch is going to return after this match, and I think we're going to start setting up Rhea and Becky for WrestleMania this year. A rematch from last year. Of course, both were not probably on top form. I think Becky was seriously unwell at Philadelphia last year. I think they want to redo that match. However, I think that Liv Morgan could win the Royal Rumble, and I think we could be setting up a triple threat match for WrestleMania. However, this is what I prefer. I prefer Liv to keep the title and it be Rhea and Becky having to fight their way to get to WrestleMania. Because say they were the final two in the Rumble, for example, then it's if Becky wins the Rumble, for example, Rhea's then out of the picture.
Brett finish.
Yeah, but then you could also then have Rhea win the Chamber and think instead of having to go for the other title, she's like, no, I want that title. And she could squeeze herself into the triple threat match, and then SmackDown has to figure out what they're going to do on their side for the title. So I prefer Liv to keep the title because she's the one that, if she keeps the title, has beef with both Rhea and Becky. However, I just think at this point, if Liv Morgan was to lose the title, she's ready for an accolade like a Rumble win. And right now, the Women's Rumble is not as clear a path. I mean, the men's is not a clear path, but it's not a clear path because the star power is unbelievable. The women's path for me, I feel like, who's going to win it? My early favorite was Becky Lynch because of the fact she could return, but I think they're going to put a big return on this show, and I think she'll be the one that could be the big return that we don't expect to see coming.
Yeah, I mean, dude, even the way you suggested it, I mean, if you flip it and have Becky win the Rumble and then do it, do you know what I mean? There's just so many ways they can get around it, and this is what's making it really hard to decide. Even though this is a Raw, and like I said, this could easily just be a no bloody contest like they normally like to do with these matches. But I mean, yeah, for me, it makes more sense. I mean, Liv has established herself now as a main event star, and it was what she failed to do, not what she failed to do, but what her booking failed to do for the first time she was champion when she beat Ronda. So she's been champion for a year. And like I said, I think she'd be very hard done by to not get on the Mania card. And I think for me, if you... don't get me wrong, the way you suggested it with Rhea winning and then you have Becky and Liv bidding for that title, and Liv winning the Rumble, dude, that's such a good shout. Like, I really like that. And I think, you know, there's not many people that you sit there and go, they deserve to win a Royal Rumble. Liv Morgan is one of them people that deserves to win a Royal Rumble. And because she's the character at the minute, she's a number 30 entrant. She's a number 30, comes in and just steals it. And do you know what I mean? Gets that win. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be so much fun. I would prefer... I don't know, really. I mean, there's no loss either way, whichever way this title goes. As long as, like, I'd like to see that triple threat. Whether Becky returns Monday night, whether she returns in the Rumble, I'd like to see it. So as long as we get Liv Mania in some way or another, I'll be content.
There you go. We'll have to see what will go down here with it. But we're going to go back to the comments in the meantime. A lot of people watching us at the moment. Thank you all for checking out the video so far. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Subscribe as well if you are new here as well. It's good to have you all on board. But let's go into the comments. And some of the comments will be regarding this match. Some are other stuff as well. So it's time for Liv Morgan to drop the title. This is a last woman standing match. Forgot that little detail in there as well. So yeah, perhaps maybe
right.
does make it more favourable for a Rhea win.
That means neither of them have to get up by the count of 10 for a draw. That's exactly what that means.
Is that a fully loaded 2000 Chris Jericho and Triple H moment?
Oh,
available on Netflix now. Chris says, remember Liv Morgan? And that is the last one standing match as well.
Paid by Netflix, by the way.
Not yet. We're hoping. If you want to throw some sponsorship, Netflix, we're open for business. Jesse says that hoping Kairi Sane wins a singles title in 2025 would not be against that, although she was robbed in the IC title tournament. Hopefully she'll get her shot somewhere further down the line. Roy is enjoying the channel so far. Thank you, Roy, and hope you continue to as well. Ask the question, when do you think John Cena will have his first match in 2025 and who against? Let's dive into that because the farewell tour begins obviously on this show on Monday Night Raw. And I'm going to suggest that John Cena will have a promo segment. I'm suggesting that his reasoning for coming back has to be the most simple. If he's going to leave, he needs to break the records. He needs to probably win the title he's never won before, which is the IC title, to become a Grand Slam champion. But hey, look, if you're coming back in January, you're coming back in time for Royal Rumble season, you want to main event WrestleMania one more time and win the 17th world title. That has to be the immediate goal. So I think John Cena's farewell tour return and begins with saying he will be in the Royal Rumble match. I think he will proclaim his spots, and I think that means he'll be facing 29 other people in his first match in WWE on his return. Would you agree with that, or would you think perhaps potentially could be some actual particular one opponent in mind?
Look, let's be honest. From what I've heard in the last 24 hours, the rumor is it's John Cena and Logan Paul at WrestleMania. And as much as that sounds really good, I'd rather Jacob Fatu versus John Cena if you're not going to put John Cena in a singles match, because I think Jacob Fatu is here every week. John Cena's going to put someone over. It needs to be the guy that's here consistently. As much as it'd be really good to see Logan Paul versus John Cena, and their promos alone would be fantastic. But I had the idea of, what is John Cena famous for? Open challenge season. It's his final year. He's going to want to fight every single week. We're just going to have John Cena open challenge, and it's going to be a case of, you want some, come get some, and he's just going to fight anyone and everyone. I think at some point he will fight Logan Paul this year. I hope it's not at WrestleMania, because, dude, I won't lie, I'm not John Cena's biggest fan, but I'd like to see him win that 17th title. And, I've said it previously, Triple H is on about breaking records at the minute. He's on about breaking attendance records and money made and all this other spiel. And what's the biggest record to break? The 16-time world champion record. And you break that. There's only one guy that can do it at the minute. It's John Cena. Randy's still a couple behind.
He's still a couple behind. I think Cena and Orton could be Cena's last dance. We have to wait and see how that'll go when we get to the farewell part of the year. But I hope it's not Logan Paul at WrestleMania, just because I agree with you. I think they could do it at a different stage. However, WrestleMania, you'd understand why. Cena's been in movies and probably ones that have been featured on Netflix. Logan Paul is a recognizable name as well. Yeah, I would prefer a different direction. I actually would want to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. We discussed that on a previous video.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if Cody Rhodes is the kind of guy that would offer John Cena a world title match at Mania. I get that impression. Just to play back on the Logan Paul thing, to me that's got SummerSlam vibes. Like I just get that impression that is a SummerSlam match. Like these two guys, SummerSlam just fits it. But yeah, dude, Cody's just the kind of guy that goes, do you know what, John? I'll give you your world title match. If you can beat me, then you've earned that 17th world title. And I think that could be this WrestleMania card is such a nightmare because like we have until probably not even after the Rumble, we still got no clue on what this match card is going to be.
No, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that it's such an open season. Some years it feels so predictable. This year is not one of them. I'm very happy for that as well. But yeah, that's our immediate thoughts then with John Cena making his return here. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Chris reminding us that Roxanne Perez is the longest reigning champion in WWE. She certainly is. Jerry's not happy that Logan Paul was returned. I'm not against it. I think personally Logan Paul is someone that gathers a lot of heat. I can understand the marketing ploy from WWE to use him. I can understand the interest of him being on Netflix as well. I will say something that may or may not make Jerry happy. I think that Logan Paul's going to get knocked out of WrestleMania. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be by John Cena. I reckon we're going to get a Logan Paul Mike Tyson segment of WrestleMania in Vegas.
Oh, that sounds really random, but yet probably the most appropriate thing you've probably said today. Dude, I am not Logan Paul's biggest fan, but I am not going to shy away and say from the fact that he's probably the best celebrity wrestler that we've ever had in WWE because he can deliver on the stage. We've seen him have killer matches with the likes of Roman Reigns, with like Ricochet in ladder matches and everything else, and he can deliver in the ring, which is the most important thing. And he is entertaining when you put a microphone in front of him. His whole United States run, yes, he wasn't on TV every week, but when he was there, especially the LA Knight stuff, was really entertaining, and that's what you want from the guy in the end. But Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania just seems really random.
Not as a match.
Oh, not a match. Okay, fair enough.
Tyson, do like a WrestleMania 14, everyone like as an enforcer or someone at ringside. Gotcha. You know, it could be against Cena. It could be Logan Paul versus Cena if they want to do it with Mike Tyson. Basically, it's just playing off what they did with the Netflix boxing fight of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Obviously, it had like 60 million views, and obviously Jake Paul won that fight. There was a verbal altercation with Logan Paul and Mike Tyson after the fight. There was some rumors going about the WWE would be interested in doing something with it. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see if Mike Tyson appears at WrestleMania. I think that's pretty much mainly where I want to go with it. And yeah, of course, a right-hander to Logan Paul doing a Shawn Michaels storyline again, but Shawn Michaels won't be booking this time. It's not NXT, but certainly could be interesting to see if they were to do something like that. Jeremy says, I think that Charlotte Flair will return on Raw. Be interesting if she does indeed. Would Andrade come with her? The transfer window is open after all. Byron says that 2025 could be a Gigi Dolan. Apparently Triple H likes her. Expects a Roman Reigns level push. I'm not going to go that far with you to agree, Byron, unfortunately, but it would be interesting to see if she was to come to the main roster. Currently Gigi, in the team with Shotzi.
Gigi has suffered since since her injury. She's come back and she's been used predominantly. I'd just give it some time. There are mid-card titles on the roster now, so if she is brought up, there is somewhere for her to try and build up her name, but she definitely needs a run with a championship on NXT before she goes anywhere near that main roster, I think.
Absolutely. I would be interested in seeing someone like maybe the North American Championship would be good for Gigi at this point. Sid wants to see Indy Hartwell re-signed. Sid asks, is John Cena a future Hall of Famer? My reply to you, Sid, is the sky blue?
First ballot.
Absolutely.
First ballot.
He certainly is indeed. Will he be going into the Hall of Fame this year? There could be a video idea that could be dropping in January. Byron says that we're going to get a bunch of people declaring for the Royal Rumble. We probably are. That's usually the way it goes. Becky isn't going to return.
I don't mind like one or two, but
yeah, I don't mind one or two. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Noob says Becky isn't going to return this year, but expect Charlotte Flair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss coming back. We might get some new characters. Could be interesting if all of those could return. Maybe some may even return when it comes to this Monday. But we'll be discussing return surprises, all that jazz. In fact, we have only a couple of comments left at the second. Let's do it now. I mentioned the Becky Lynch return. Do you see some surprises? Maybe a debut, maybe a return? Could it be a new Rey Mysterio tag team partner?
Dude, if look, they've pretty much teed up that it's going to be New Day versus Rey Mysterio and Pentagon Jr. next week. On Monday. I am excited to see Pentagon Jr. on WWE. I just don't. I hope he doesn't get stuck in the vortex that is the LWO, because Dragon Lee's in there at the minute, and that guy can't get out there to save his life. But yes, Zero Miedo, bring him in, man. I can't wait for it. He's going to be absolutely killer. I cannot wait. I just, like I said, I hope he's not stuck in it. But you made a good suggestion earlier when we was talking that him versus Rey Mysterio is an idea for the future. Dude, one of the biggest lucha stars of all time, Rey Mysterio versus one of the best lucha stars of all time, Pentagon Jr., man. Dude, sign me up now. I'll take it.
I mean, the thing is, some would expect like, Rey and Penta would need to win that tag team match, but the New Day don't need to lose a match at this point. I don't know if it's the right time. So if Penta comes in and actually just turns on Rey and they lose the tag team match and they start a build with them two to WrestleMania, wouldn't be good. I don't need Rey versus Dom for a third year in a row. That's all I'm saying at this point. But any
Dom
other names?
Retiring Rey next year.
Yeah,
dude, they should The Rock, John Cena, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair. I don't know what Jordan Grace's status is. Bring Jordan Grace up. She's probably going to be a Rumble entrant. There is a catalogue of names on there. Carmella, whether Carmella's fit to come back. You know what I mean? So there is literally, you just throw a name at the wall and whatever sticks will probably return.
It's a possibility. The only thing I would say is WWE, if you have all their names coming in, not on one night, spread it out a little bit. We can have some fun with it.
We suffered that before with Triple H, where he just kept re-signing people very quickly, and in the space of 2 months, he'd re-signed about 9 people, and all of a sudden, one of the rosters was bloated.
I like those Q&A days. That was so much fun, though. Literally every video was so-and-so has returned. So Karrion Kross is back. Do you know what I mean? They were fun times. I liked them.
Johnny Gargano, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
just so many.
Literally. If you go back on the archives, that is literally every Q&A for about 2 months. It was a lot of fun. Speaking of someone that will be taking part, though, is Travis Scott. Will be doing a live performance on this show. Please stick with us. We're going to keep it brief. But we hinted off air that maybe this Travis Scott live performance could be linked to something with a new Raw theme. Do you reckon that's what could be going on? He could be going for a new Raw thing that we're going to hear every week, and it's going to be his song.
Live performance could probably open the show if it's the new theme. Having performed the theme live, and in that way, it's one and done. But yeah, it upsets me that Triple H is moving away from his AC/DC days, and we're moving away from NXT metal days and all those heavy metal songs and rock songs we used to get, and we're starting to get more rap. I don't mind it, but it's I know of Travis Scott. I don't listen to him avidly, but dude, he's a big name, and obviously with the show being on Netflix, it's a big name to write a theme song or use one of his songs, license it for Raw. So it's a great business decision.
Yeah, it's a great business decision. Obviously, Travis Scott is a big name in the States, and although I can't go out and say I listen to him on the daily, I am aware of him. And obviously, I like a bit of rap. I like a lot of rock, obviously. I like when we combine the two. But yeah, hopefully it should be a lot of fun. And like you say, open up the show. And like with the old NXT ones, where they used to have the performances, and they used to have these video clips playing in the background to hype you up.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a perfect use of Travis Scott for this show, and particularly if it's a song we can keep for Raw moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Even though I made this up today, this Roy's Netflix sign, do you know what I mean? They sometimes do it where they use the old Roy's War intro, but use modern day stars. Do that kind of stuff, man. I'd like to see that stuff used again.
Absolutely, would love to as well. Chris says that Dakota Kai needs to become the first ever women's intercontinental champion this Monday for her singles title, and get first singles title in her career. It's actually going to be on the second Netflix show. It's not actually going to be this week on Raw. It's going to be the following week. Okay. So, but we can have some fun anyway. Dakota Kai or Lyra Valkyria? Who should pick?
Lyra Valkyria is the obvious choice because she is new, but I really want Dakota to win it because Dakota has been through a lot in terms of like she's been NXT tag team. She was NXT women's tag team champion for like I think maybe 4 days in total or something. She like her reigns were ridiculously short, and she's been through so much with injuries, and she's just been on the up recently. And obviously with Damage Control kind of being whether they're face or heel, I don't know. But Dakota Kai has been coming out to her own music, and I think they're starting to really try and make a star in out of her. And I'll be happy with either one, but I really want Dakota to win it.
I would be very happy with Dakota to win for all the same reasons you've just said. However, I said Lyra at the start of this tournament. I think it'd be wrong for me to change it now. When Io was brought in, I went, oh, that could be a reason that Lyra doesn't win it. But Lyra's got through Io Sky. I think she's going to go all the way. So I think as well. I agree with Chris. I think Becky Lynch is expected to return soon as well. So, you know, they've got a good connection. And I think the push could be back on for Lyra when Becky's back in town. That's just a feeling I've got. Roy says, did we get any nice Christmas presents?
Funny story. So my wife ordered me a hoodie that I really wanted. Was limited edition. She ordered it. It never turned up. And now she's getting a refund because it never showed up. I'm not like, dude, I've got kids now, so Christmas isn't really for me. And it was one thing that she was kind of like, she'd gone out of her way to really try and get, and then she ordered it and it never turned up. So I got stuff, but the one thing my wife really wanted to get me for Christmas never turned up.
You never know. They could always change it now later in the year. Is it still possible to get hold of?
No, basically it's like a limited edition launch. Like they only release like, I don't know, 200-300 of them. Then once they sell out, they sell out. So they'll redo other ones in the future, and they'll do newer ones. So I can just get a newer one in the future. But it's like my wife was gutted. Like she'd ordered it on the 1st of December, and like by the 18th of December, it just stopped and it never moved. It's still in the States, lost with UPS, I think. So someone in the UPS has got a hoodie that was initially meant for me, but you know, never mind. I digress. I'll live on. Do you know what I mean? It's like I say, Christmas isn't really for me anymore. It's for my kids, so I'm not bothered.
All I will say quickly, if you work for UPS and you have got a hoodie that is meant for our man NX Steve, do the right thing. Just do the right thing.
You and me,
but
we got beef.
Exactly. For me, I've got a CM Punk Best in the World t-shirt.
Awesome.
The one that was he's been wearing probably the second half of last year. So yeah, I would expect to see that on future videos. That'll be busted out.
Still wearing the original one from like 15 years ago.
There you go. But the thing is, the Punk stuff though is always good. It's always good stuff. You can tell we're Punk fans. Byron asks who attacked Jade Cargill. Easy for me to say. I've had a video recorded for this for about 2.5 weeks. It's not been released. I'm going to try and find a way to get this out before SmackDown airs tomorrow. But so I will hold back on my answer on this one. But I'll pass it over to you. Who do you think is the person that attacked Jade Cargill?
I mean, I'm gonna say Bianca because you know. No, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't even know. Like, unless there's a name coming in, maybe a Charlotte Flair. Who knows? Maybe I just don't know, man. Like, I honestly, the booking for this one has been kind of weird. And obviously, with Naomi coming in, you could easily say no, it's Naomi because obviously she's taken a spot and she's kind of defending those tag team titles now. So I don't know. I don't know if a heel Naomi works for me. That's the only thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all up for seeing it. It's just something I don't think we've ever seen before, and not since she was a Funkadactyl, and I don't even think she was really a heel then. So who knows, man? But yeah, Naomi or Charlotte Flair, I'm gonna guess.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with that, and I would be actually interested in a heel Naomi character. I won't lie about that. Pentagon might demoralize the entire LWO. I'd like to see him do it. I'd like to see him go full on Lucha Underground days, breaking arms 100%. And all sorts. But probably not going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's
for that United States title.
Absolutely. Well, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button because now is the real time to do it, because we're going to go and do our final match, and then we're going to go into the rest of your comments to end the video. And of course, the main event of this show is going to be none other than CM Punk versus Seth Freakin Rollins. That's right. You're here at the right time if you're watching now, because these two, this feels like a WrestleMania match. It feels like potentially could even be a WrestleMania main event type match, but it is on the debut Raw on Netflix. The big question I have to start things off is, why now? Is it just to really just make this show the biggest it can be, or do they have other plans for CM Punk and Rollins come WrestleMania? We know that CM Punk and Roman Reigns is a match that has been teased before as well.
I mean, dude, again, this WrestleMania card just throws everything out. Obviously, with CM Punk being owed a favor from Paul Heyman, like is Punk Roman the match for WrestleMania? Like, genuinely, I sat there and initially thought that this match was going to end as a no contest, because there's no way we get this kind of a match. Like, do you know, this is one of these matches where they go like WCW used to do, where they do Hogan versus Flair on free TV. This is essentially the same kind of thing, but you have to have a Netflix subscription, unfortunately. But I honestly, I don't know. It's so. I'm gonna say a no contest because, like, WrestleMania is my biggest burden at this point, because I want those two to be in a main event for a world title. One of those two needs to take that title from Gunther between now and WrestleMania, so we can have that main event. And again, this throws into the whole point that Seth or Punk can then win the Royal Rumble, along the lines with John Cena, Roman Reigns, The Rock, everyone else is possibly like in that plethora of 10 wrestlers that could win it. But I don't know, man. Like I said, it's weird that they're throwing it on a main event of Raw. Yeah, like you said, it could be an idea to make this the biggest Raw episode era, because obviously it's the what do they call it, the season launch, and it was for new season episode of Monday Night Raw. And yeah, I mean, it's going to do that anyway, and obviously it's going to draw eyes because it's something that they've been building for well over a year now, and it's kind of the match that everyone wants to see. But it's weird that it's on a Raw instead of a WrestleMania. Like, I don't know how you would still keep these two guys apart, because they've done so well till now, but I think obviously with Bronson Reed being injured, it's like, how do you keep these two further apart until WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's interesting because it felt like that this one was being saved for later down the line, because obviously Punk was injured. Obviously, let's go to the beginning. Seth Rollins was not happy seeing Punk return at Survivor Series 2023, but obviously from that point onwards, Punk got injured in the Rumble. It scrapped the plans that we expected for Punk versus Rollins at WrestleMania. We then had the Punk and Drew stuff going on, but Seth was in the middle, a special guest referee at SummerSlam. But like I said, Seth would move on to Bronson Reed. It kept them apart, but of course, when Survivor Series rolled around and the Bloodline needed a fifth member, they went to Seth Rollins. I think, well, Sammy did anyway. Sami Zayn went for him and didn't get him. And in the end, though, Paul Heyman brought CM Punk in, and CM Punk would want a favor. CM Punk put Bronson Reed on the shelf. Obviously, Bronson Reed missed that table spot and smashed and shattered his ankle. Punk did something Rollins couldn't. Excuse me. However, Rollins was not happy that Punk was a part of that match, and it was a reminder of him that you aided Roman Reigns as well. It's another reason of why I need to get rid of you. I did like the initial stuff at the beginning with Rollins saying, I've been thinking about this for 6 months, that I need to get you out of WWE. Seeing Punk reminding, I don't even think about you at all. I thought that was a brilliant line. I loved that. It was one of my favorite parts of this entire thing. Then they sort of have gone through the history of these two, how, Rollins, looked up to CM Punk. They've gone with almost the teacher and student dynamic with it, obviously, with wanting to be trained for free. Obviously, Rollins was saying, yeah, I did want all of that. But then you walked away, you turned your back on us, and you turned your back on this company. You wanted to kill it. You wanted to bury it at every cost. CM Punk said, look, these people kept chanting my name. It's you I walked out on, and that's what you're upset about, really. Punk has no regrets, but of course he has been called a cancer, and Rollins wants to get rid of him. Your thoughts of the build-up?
Dude, for a show that has, or for a rivalry that's been so far apart, and then all of a sudden you give us that promo segment on Raw last week, these two feel like they've been warring with each other physically for the last 3 months. Like, they've just been going at it. But like, one great promo has just added so much intensity and fire to a rivalry that kind of has lasted, well, it's been like 10 years, I suppose, really, since, but maybe even longer, like obviously when the Shield and stuff come in. Talk about long-term storytelling. It's a story that's been going on for over a decade. But yeah, it's like, even when I remember back to the interview that Seth gave, I can't remember what it's for, it might have been for one of the 2K games, and they talked about, would you like to see CM Punk back? And he said, no, he's a cancer, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's obviously, like it's not something we normally hear Seth kind of come out with, and to say that about CM Punk, a guy that you think that they haven't really had much interaction, and then obviously Punk then hell throws over, he comes back, and then it's just it almost feels like destiny. And I mean, I shared what did I sent you an Instagram reel the other day of the similarities between Punk and Rollins in their careers, both Money in the Bank winners, both winning world titles, both of them going back to NXT and like leading by example, like just going down to see who the champs were at the time, because Seth was obviously been down to see Trick and all this stuff, and like it's just very strange how they've had very similar career paths, obviously aside from the 7 or 8 year gap that Seth Rollins hasn't taken. But dude, it's great, and like I said, the intensity that those two brought to that promo last week, killer, just absolutely killer. Like, we already did our end of year awards, but dude, man, that'd be in there for a promo segment of the year, that, because it was so
God,
good.
so good. Fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a really good way of a closing angle for these guys for next week on Raw. And yeah, I mean, obviously you said believe there for prediction, if I'm not mistaken. You can see this one being a no contest, them carrying this on for another day.
I mean, I'd hope so. I mean, I don't know. That's the biggest thing, is I don't know who needs to win more. I mean, does Punk need to win? Does Seth need to lose, like, and be overcoming CM Punk be his story? I don't know. Like, I don't know. All I have is he just wants to get rid of CM Punk, and CM Punk doesn't care about Seth Rollins. It's like, this is obviously not going to be the last time these two fight. So it's a case of, is this the first of many, or is this the only time? I don't know. And like I said, with WrestleMania being like a complete guess who of what's going on with that, I just don't know, man. So I'm going to be safe and say no contest.
I think it's a safe bet. I mean, I think this is the hardest match to predict of all of them, which is obviously why it's the main event of this show. In some ways, it's fun to see if Rollins was to win this, because it would be fun to see CM Punk care and feel the need to put Rollins down. But at the same time, Rollins wants to take Punk out of WWE. He doesn't want to just beat him. So it feels like it's not about winning a match for Rollins for me. So like you say, this does smell like it could be of some form of DQ if they want to make this a personal rivalry. However, if I just may for a second, I am going to predict CM Punk is going to win. And my reasoning for it is that I don't think it's going to be a decisive victory, but it's enough to turn Seth Rollins more towards the heel side. I think Chris alluded to it in the comments earlier, thinks Rollins is going to turn heel. I agree with that heel turn and direction, because everyone that doesn't want to see Roman succeed is the heel at the moment, because Roman's become the babyface. And I do think we're going to get this Rollins, Drew, and KO group at some point. However, I think I'm going to go for some sort of roll up, like a small package, something like that. And I think CM Punk is going to overcome this. And I think it's just going to wind Rollins up to the point that we may see some form of storytelling continue, and this feud may continue up until Saturday night's main event in Texas, which I think is where we'll get the second match.
I think this will go on further than that, because I think that the favor that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk is also going to be vital into this story as well, because I could see it being like Punk winning a world title and then Punk using that title over Seth, being like, "You're nothing, I'm the world champion." Do you know what I mean? There's, I think there's a longer narrative for it. Obviously, like, I definitely don't think this is a one and done. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to be safe and go with a no contest. And even if you did force me to pick one, I'd probably have to say Punk as well. I think Seth overcoming Punk is the bigger story.
Yeah, and I think as well, Seth, his reaction to the loss is going to be more entertaining, more interesting to watch than Punk. Punk would be almost like, well, I know I can beat him, but I didn't on that day. My goal was still what I'm planning to do for it. He wants to win a world title. He wants to main event WrestleMania. That's what CM Punk's vision is. It's not really Seth freaking Rollins. He's just doing this because Rollins has put himself in the way. It's something to do between now and the Royal Rumble. And like he said, he's here to make money, not to make friends. But it's a big payday on that first Netflix show.
I could easily turn around and say now that if I was a betting man, Punk Rollins main event in Mania doesn't happen until 2026. I think that they will long this off and do Roman versus Punk, whatever. And I think because obviously Punk's not getting any younger, and I think
Mm.
if you want to have him go out on the highest of highs, dude, have him lose the main event of WrestleMania to Seth Rollins. Give him like a win against Roman or whatever. I don't know, but whatever they want to do, probably not because it's Roman. But yeah, like we've sat there and speculated about matches before that should happen at WrestleMania, but like Rock and Roman, for example, that could happen this year, but that just keeps getting pushed further and further back. I could easily see him Punk versus Rollins going to main event next year.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a long-term play. When I said Saturday night's main event, I meant that would be the second match. I think there'll be a third decisive one further down the line. But I agree with you. I have a feeling it's not WrestleMania, which is why this first match is being done here. I think Punk versus Roman currently looks to be the favored direction. I think that's the favor. Punk wants that main event, and he knows with Roman he's going to get it.
If anything, you could have Punk win. Seth for example, could win the Rumble. He could then face Gunther. He can get that title. He can then give CM Punk something to chase him for, so Seth can then get his win back over him. Because once Punk gets that win over him, Punk's got no reason to go back and fight him again. I've beat you. I don't need to fight you again. You need to give Seth something that Punk wants, which is a world title. So at some point, I imagine that Seth will get that world title, and that will be the reason why these two come back at each other, which would be why they would main event at WrestleMania next year, for example.
Absolutely. I mean, Rollins needs to almost be like the Shawn Michaels for the Undertaker WrestleMania 26. He couldn't get the match, so he would do anything to get that match and make it happen. My last question before we close this off. We've talked about the idea of Punk versus Rollins, Punk versus Roman. What about, we spoke about a triple threat match earlier in this show. What about a triple threat match for WrestleMania with Punk, Rollins, and Roman?
If it makes sense, fine. But there are bigger matches for Roman to have, and the Seth Punk dynamic for me is too big of a story to throw a third person in there just to be a spare wheel. Unless there's a title involved, sure, possibly, but I don't understand what the point of. Like, I know obviously Seth doesn't like Roman, Seth doesn't like Punk, but then you're kind of doing the whole 2-on-1 angle here, and it kind of like the math ain't mathing for me. Do you know what I mean? So, I can easily see him doing something else for WrestleMania. Just say push it back till 2026.
Absolutely. Fair play on that one. I totally understand that. I still think it'd be a mega match, but I kind of agree. I think the single matches always have more hype sometimes than the triple threat match. It almost, there's a saying, freeze a crowd, and it is for a reason.
If you want a comparison, Punk Seth can be the same as Rock Austin at 17.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Give me my way in a video package with Seth Rollins and CM Punk for WrestleMania 42 at that point. I'll be sold.
Give me my way, Limp Bizkit, one more time, please. As we've gone a little bit retro there, we've gone a little bit retro. Let's just quickly say, because some people will be watching WWE for the first time now. Netflix is a big open audience that WWE has not had before. And obviously, we have Netflix now with many WWE shows. Some people don't have to wait until Raw to get their first experience. We thought we'd do something a little bit fun for those that are just unsure. What should we watch? What should we do? So we're both going to come up with 3 shows each that we recommend people should go out and say, this is what I should watch on Netflix right now that's already available for us before Raw on Netflix. So I will start off, and then I'll pass over to Nick Steve. So my 3 recommendations are WrestleMania X7. Surprise, surprise. We just mentioned about, obviously, the Limp Bizkit My Way video package. Of course, it's arguably the best WrestleMania of all time, depending on which era of wrestling you grew up watching. It is my era of where I grew up watching. So, of course, for me, I think it is the best WrestleMania of all time. Obviously, with TLC 2, Rock and Austin, you can go on. Even the gimmick Battle Royal is a bloody lot of fun. You need to go out of your way and watch it. My second recommendation is WrestleMania 40. It's something up to date. It's something to here and now. If you are watching wrestling and you want to know what's wrestling like now and you want to see one of the best shows that they've put on recently, WrestleMania 40 is one of them. Just seeing Cody finish the story over 2 nights is incredible. You get to see The Rock wrestle on night 1. Damian Priest cashes in Money in the Bank. There's all sorts of fun things there that they can just get an idea of what WWE is like. And my last recommendation is a Royal Rumble match, because goodness me, Royal Rumble is the first premium live event that is going to be on Netflix for everyone outside of the United States. So Royal Rumble is a concept you could get used to. Now, I could go with a modern one for you because there's a great one in 2023 with Cody and Gunter in the final two. However, I'm going to go with my personal favorite Royal Rumble 1992 just because the story from start to finish is amazing. Ric Flair winning the WWF Championship, Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon probably having the night of their lives on commentary, building that story, developing characters. It's just a fun watch from start to finish. And for me, still remains as a personal choice that I'd say people should go out of their way and watch. And Steve, what are your 3 recommended shows to go on Netflix right now and check out if you haven't seen WWE before?
Mine are all going to be recency bias. Look, if you hadn't guessed by the name, by the title, I'm an NXT fanboy. I'm going to give you 2 of my favorite WWE pay-per-views of all time. One being Survivor Series from 2019. It's the first and only time we've had Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. Dude, there is so many good matches, especially Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole, a match that the crowd does not care about till about halfway through, and oh my god, it becomes amazing. And then you got the likes of Roderick Strong, of all people, taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, and you're like, how is he even going to survive that? Just a solid card from start to bottom. My second one is going to be the best NXT takeover, in my opinion, which is New Orleans from 2018. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in a no non-sanctioned match, and it opens with arguably one of the best ladder matches of all time in NXT, the 6-man ladder match for the first ever North American champion. Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole, Ricochet, Lars Sullivan, and I forget the other 2, but again, one of the best ladder matches ever. And dude, because it's Rumble season, I'd be missed not to say it because I know you were still wanting to say it. Royal Rumble 2020 men's one is for me the greatest Royal Rumble so far. Brock Lesnar is an absolute beast in it, and then just had dude, the biggest surprise and biggest return on that show. I'm not going to give it away. If you don't already know, go and watch it and see the surprise for yourself because it is one of the best returns of all time. And dude, Keith Lee getting in the ring with Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar going, "Ooh, big boy." Dude, honestly, it's the best Royal Rumble I've ever watched to date.
Absolutely. And if you're a John Cena fan and you want to see a Royal Rumble, just as a sleeper pick, just to end it off, 2008, John Cena returning at number 30, obviously, and winning the Rumble is something spectacular. Many people of a certain generation are very fond of that Royal Rumble. And do you know what? Even someone that probably didn't like John Cena around that time period, you have to appreciate it when you go and watch it. It's a very special Royal Rumble moment. So those are our recommendations for you to go and check out on Netflix. If you want to go and see something because you've just not seen it in a while, or it could be a case that you've not seen WWE before and you want to go and check something out. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've wrapped up our portion of the video. So now it's just time to turn to your questions. We're going to do your questions for about 10, 15 minutes tops, and then we will wrap things up. Before, Steve, I think I might have forgotten something. Go on.
No, I've just thought of something. I've just checked it, and NXT Takeover New Orleans isn't actually on the network. So unfortunately, it's not one you can currently watch. But when it does go on there, go and watch it because it's fantastic. I sat there and thought, you know what? I don't actually remember seeing any of the NXT Takeover pay-per-views on there, and that's because it's not on there. But when it does, 2018, go and watch it. It's a great show.
It's probably dropping soon. There are shows that will be dropping in February, March, April, so they're going to keep it coming for us. But one thing that Matthew's not happy about, and I will say I was a bit disappointed with this as well. However, I've heard it's getting better, Matthew. Relax. He says it's a mess because of the Raw Vault and SmackDown Vault. I think it's amazing it's there. But of course, not everything is there immediately. That for me is something that I was hoping to see more of. However, to see all the years of Raw, all the years of SmackDown, all the years of NXT, if they did that, they might as well just cancel the Peacock deal for the States right now. And I think they want to gradually give us more and more as things go on. I personally was watching Raw 94 on the network before it cut off. So I'm going to have to be patient to get that on Netflix at this point because there's like 4 episodes. That's it for 94 at the minute. So yeah, from that point of it, it's a bit disappointing, but there's so much great stuff on there. And when Dave Meltzer did a room of like, there's only 40 premium live events and the whole thing, it's like 250 shows on there that you can go and watch right now. So I'm quite happy for what there is. And I think that the layout of it's pretty darn good as well.
I won't lie, I find it a much more easier use than the network. And my biggest joy is that when I click on something, it doesn't automatically go to Spanish audio, because that was my biggest gripe with the network. Is no matter what I picked, it automatically defaulted to, for some reason, the first language alphabetically. So some shows would be Japanese, some would be Spanish, but it's like, I'm watching in England. Why? Everything I've ever watched has been with English audio, and yet for some reason the network just kept getting that, and it just really wound me. I know they didn't really care about it, but it kind of like they just obviously stopped caring in the final year about how it was all done. But dude, I'm just glad it's on Netflix now, and yeah, dude, there's more on there than I was expecting, so I'm okay with that, man. Like, for instance, I thought we was going to get 10 pay-per-views and that'd be it. So for what we've got, I'll take it.
I'll just give us something away. Some of the shows that I really want to do rewinds for in 2025 are already available on Netflix. So I was quite happy canvassing about 5 or 6 of them immediately there. If there's one other thing, I hope they'll upgrade as the year goes on. WCW. I'd like some WCW on Netflix because damn, there's some wild shit in 2000 that I want us to cover this year. It's a 25-year anniversary. I want to cover some of that stuff. So we'll see how we go from here and there. We'll switch things over to TNA very quickly because Roy's got a question. He said he was mad when Tessa Blanchard returned to TNA. He went mad because he's a fan of her. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Tessa Blanchard, she is going to be very divisive. Some people love her, some people hate her. One thing I feel you can't argue with is she's a great in-ring talent. She's built for a match with Jordan Grace at Genesis. Not gonna lie, that is the match I'm most looking forward to seeing because I know it's going to be a banger.
Yeah, and I think the problem that at TNA have got is that Jordan Grace is pretty much out the door at this point, and she is on the farewell tour, and it's kind of like they need a big name to come in and replace her, and who other than someone who's been world heavyweight champion for TNA. So it makes sense. But like you said, she's not everyone's cup of tea. But, you know, I'm all for second chances. There are some wrestlers that I would like to see given a second chance that are currently out there on the indie scenes working hard, you know. So, do you know what I mean? Never say never, I think, is the key word with that.
Absolutely, I think it's very well put as well there. I'm interested to see how Tessa Blanchard's run will go in TNA this time round. And obviously, with some people not being a fan of her, that gives some initial heat as well. And that can create some magic. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Tessa Blanchard in 2025. Speaking of 2025, WWE2K25 reveal cap off a big January for WWE. We'll either get a reveal on Netflix or on the 20th. I think that's Pat or Pets 2K next makers. We'll have to wait and see. I think something Netflix related it could be. We'll have to wait and see when it will drop. But any wishes, hopes for WWE2K25?
I don't know, because it's like I get hyped for it every year because it always looks really good. But the problem I have is always that certain wrestlers. I think my biggest issue a couple of years ago was Casey Catanzaro, or Katana Chance, whatever her name is now. One year she was DLC, the following year she was in the game, and the year after that she was DLC again. And it's like, I hate it when they do that stuff. And the DLC for me is the biggest problem they have with that as well, because you do these packs and you throw these random. Don't get me wrong. This year, I think they've done 5 packs, and like everyone knows the controversy around the Pat McAfee one, and it's like that's the thing they really need to get right. But otherwise, dude, I enjoy playing them. They just need to work on online modes, man. Because obviously, I play them with a couple of mates, and like we don't live locally, so it's all online. But it's the simplest things like, you can't do like an online universe mode, which if you got a couple of mates and you could do a federation, do you know what I mean? Just have fun with it, do title matches, do you know what I mean? Just have general fun with it. I think that's my biggest issue. But, you know, never know. One day in the future, maybe. But, you know what I mean? I'm a sucker. I'll probably buy it because I buy it every year like I normally do.
I never actually bought 2K24, so yeah, I feel like I've missed out on that one. But
Wait for this year's.
yeah, I would say so. But
Comes with me in 25. You won't have to pay extra.
exactly. I think that they should do a full year for GM mode. I'm a bit bored that they still do like part of the year and not the full thing. Like, I want a Royal Rumble and I want a Chamber. I want more people be involved in matches and stuff like that. That was what bit. I've always been a GM guy. It's been a bit of a turn off. I'd like to see them combine GM and Universe mode. I think that would be a good way to go. Yeah, and because Universe mode has been boring for years as well.
Do you know what they actually need to do? Is I hate to say it, but they need to get rid of 2K, because the biggest gripe I've had for years with 2K is like the hair is always really bad. Like, for some reason 2K just can't nail hair, and they don't. They're a lot of their like creator wrestler is just copy and paste for the following year. They don't really add a lot of new stuff in there, and it becomes very samey. But I'm the same as you with the GM mode and career mode. They're like, they have this weird mode where it's like it tries to do like a weird story mode, and it tries to have random scenarios play out for you. But when I'm sitting there waiting for a loading screen for 2 minutes, and I'm like, I just can't be bothered, and it's the loading times that kill me. Like, we're in 2025 and we're still waiting 2 minutes for a loading screen on a video game. I just think it's insane.
Absolutely, yeah. We've moved forward. We've moved on. I was just the last little shout. Final boss mode. I think they could do that with the main pack for The Rock. Maybe could be quite
I
fun.
tell you what, 24, they nailed the history of WrestleMania. I think that's been one of the best like story modes they've ever done, because obviously they've done Rays before and they've done that. The WrestleMania one they did in 24 is actually the best one they've ever done, because it wasn't playing as Ray in every single match. It was like one match you're playing as Austin or Rock or Flair or whoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was just loads of variety with this year's one.
Kept it interesting as well. Byron wants to see some gameplay on this channel. We're open to
Ooh.
suggestions, Byron. We'll keep that one in mind for you.
I have the means to do it. It's just whether I've got the willingness to do it. There's a difference.
I'd quite like to hear the swearing involved on it, to be honest, if it's something goes
no.
wrong. Do you know what I mean? You versus you in GM mode. That could be fun.
Yeah, but like I said, the problem is like it's such a pain to do unless it's got a proper online mode. Because like the way you have to do it is like you have to screen share. Like, because I've got a PlayStation, it's like you can only screen share for an hour, then you have to stop the screen share and do it all over again, and it's like, oh, it's just so pointless.
Yeah, we'll see if there's ways and means.
Yeah.
Roy said, "Would you like to see the Undertaker return on Raw? Appearance, yes, because I think Netflix Undertaker would be quite cool. Match, no.
Yeah.
We'll pass the match."
Yeah, no. Let's get American Badass out for some random reason. Let's just vary it up with let's get every variation of Undertaker over the next year.
That'd be quite fun. Chris says Dakota Kai wins the IC title. Lyra will get a rematch. Byron thinks Jordan Grace attacked Jade Cargill. That's certainly a way to bring her in. Chris says it's down to Bianca Belair, Naomi, or Bailey. I think Bailey will be framed. I will say that. I think she's going to get framed. Roy says he's got a Coldplay hoodie, t-shirt, phone case for Christmas. Amazing presents there, Roy. I'd be very happy if I got those. Fantastic. Noob says either the same three people, Naomi, Bailey, or Bianca. Byron says he got Seth Rollins to beat CM Punk. Will we ever see Tyler Black in WWE? I like what you did there. I think it's Rollins for life for me.
Oh, sorry. Do you know what? For some reason, my brain went to Malachi Black. For some reason, I was thinking, Aleister Black's coming back to WWE at some point, guarantee. It's Seth Rollins, man. It's all about copyright, man.
Absolutely. Hassan, thanks for joining us. This is a Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Hope you're keeping well. Would you like to see any NXT or TNA wrestlers in the Rumble? Boy, would I. Joe Hendry.
You meant to see he appears. Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble. Absolutely.
Give it to me. Yeah, and NXT.
Number
absolutely.
one. He'll be number one or number two.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout.
Dude, his intro is so long, he has to be number one or number two. Number two, I'm going to say.
Either that or they have like a comedy moment where there's people in the ring just watching his entrance. Say that R-Truth's there and he starts waving his hands in the ring along and he gets thrown out by Pete Dunne in the meantime in the background. That could be fun. Yeah, sign me up. I'm down with that. Ray says, do you remember Simon Dean with the Simon system? I do remember that.
The name rings a bell, but unless I see a picture, I'll have to Google a picture of him because I remember the name but not the face.
He was in a tag team with Maven at one point, I think, in the mid-2000s. Yeah. Was formerly Nova in ECW. Favorite to NXT takeovers for Christopher are Brooklyn 2015 and Respect in 2015 as well. Those Bailey Sasha matches were awesome.
Good chance.
Roy says, will Tyler Bate be returning? I like watching these matches. I'm sure soon. He was out for the year. They said with his injury. Now it's a new year, so I'd hope some point soon.
Yeah, dude, that guy just unfortunately suffers with injuries so badly that it's kind of like I'm waiting for that guy to become the massive star that like he was promised when he was first ever UK champion, wasn't he? And I just waited for him to carry on that. But I was enjoying the whole Pete Dunne thing, but now Pete Dunne's kind of doing his own thing. So yeah, bring back the cruiserweight division, man. Tyler Bate in the cruiserweight. That's a great way to start him off.
Absolutely. He's a big, strong boy after all. I'd actually put him back to NXT just for the minute, just because of the fact that I feel that they're lacking some star power in that NXT championship scene. I think he could just come back and just win the championship or be in title matches. I know you're going to disagree with that one. I knew you would, but I think he could have a feud with Pete Dunne on Raw. They could do that because New Catch Republic wasn't working for me. You could move him to SmackDown, but I just think he's going to get lost over there. That's just a personal opinion. I think he'll get lost. I would put him back to NXT and put him in the main title picture. Imagine Tyler Bate against Obafemi. I'm sorry, but I think it'd be a quality match.
I'm sitting here thinking, what NXT are you watching? And you're saying the main event scene on NXT is missing some star power. Ethan Page, Trick Williams, Obafemi. Do you know what I mean? There's a couple of guys that are on the verge of breaking into that scene. What NXT are you watching?
I'm watching an NXT where I think Trick Williams is getting called up anytime soon. Same with Ethan Page. I think
Ethan Page needs to be called up.
I think they're getting called up, and I think when they're called up, NXT has got a big hole.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely. Come April, May, there's definitely going to be a gap in that NXT roster for some main event stars. But hey, Tavion Heights, man, that guy, I'm telling you now, he is like, for me, he is on a skill set with like Chad Gable. Oh, Chad Gable this year needs to like also break out of the mold of doing nothing and actually win some gold.
Move him to SmackDown ASAP, please. Aries, we answered this question about 15 minutes into the video, so feel free to hop back and I'll talk about Julia and Roxanne Perez. Roy says there's a Tessa Blanchard versus Charlotte Flair. Take my money now. I would love to see that match as well. I would quite be in for that one. I think CM Punk will be the front cover of 2K25. That's an excellent shout. Certainly could see that as a possibility.
Be one of the few stars that have only been on the cover twice, because I know he's been on it once before, but yeah, I can see it happening.
Yeah. Who do you think will be in the showcase mode?
Dude, give CM Punk a showcase mode. He's got some great matches over history that you could tell. Bring back the old ECW stuff, man. There's loads of stuff on there you could do. Bring back the Straight Edge Society, CM Punk, everything.
I like that. I think it's a really good shout. I mentioned the Final Boss, though, earlier on. Final Boss mode, showcase mode. I think that could be a possibility.
I would push him for next year, because if he's going to, I think, like, depending on what his run is and when he's going to retire, I think the year he retires, you give him the showcase mode, and you get, like, when he gets his Hall of Fame entrance and stuff.
True story. True story. I'm just on the idea of Netflix. Everything's going to be bigger on Netflix, and they're going to go with all these established names for everything, I feel, in 2K. So I just wouldn't be surprised if they just go back to The Rock, or they've already done Cena. So, but yeah, I enjoyed the Four Horsemen showcase mode on 2K20. Yeah, I mean, I'd be honest, that's one of the years I didn't buy, but I think they should do more women's showcase modes personally.
I didn't buy 2K20 because if I remember correctly, that's the one that was glitchy as hell and it was bugged forever. Like, I remember buying it and I had it for 3 days and I didn't open it because there was so many bad reviews. I ended up getting it refunded, so I never actually played it, unfortunately.
Interesting. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade in this year's Royal Rumble match. Wouldn't be surprised. I've got them down for a call.
Yes.
Roy wants to see Heath Slater back. He has kids. Those kids need to feed him.
Agreed. Hey man, he's the only one that hasn't been a WWE champion, man. Drew has. Who else was the other one? Jinder Mahal's been champion. Bring Heath Slater for WWE champion.
I don't see it happening. I just Heath. I don't see it happening. But he's got kids. Bring him back. Aries says, I hope we get Alicia Edwards from TNA representing the system. Moose as well, the X Division in the men's Royal Rumble. If Alicia and Moose enter the Rumble match, I'm going to lose my mind. Fantastic shout indeed there. And do you know what? I'm going to lose my mind because I tell you what, Raw on Netflix is a thing starting next Monday. And obviously today is Thursday. So we're a few days away. We're going to amp up that excitement even further. And of course, for those that are watching the channel for the first time, just to let you know, subscribe. You can keep an eye up to date with all the stuff that's going on this channel. Myself and Steve will be back on the regular in January. We like to give you as much content as possible. It's Royal Rumble season. It's one of my favorite times of the year to create content. So do expect a lot to happen between now and then. A little bit of what's to come in the near future. We've got NXT New Year's Evil predictions will be dropping on the channel. As well as that, like I say, we'll have some Royal Rumble watch-alongs and all those speculation videos, perhaps predictions of who could win the men's and women's Royal Rumble. The men's one is already out. We could have maybe who will be the surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble. Who's going to be in the Hall of Fame? We could perhaps maybe do our Mount Rushmore series. Best Royal Rumble matches, maybe best Royal Rumble events. maybe SCW Rewind makes a return this month because we was worried it was going on hiatus. It's not anymore. There's lots of reasons to subscribe, so make sure to do so right now. And yeah, NXT, big thank you to you for being on this video. As always, it's been great to talk pro wrestling with you.
Dude, always a pleasure. Christmas is now out of the way, the busiest time of the year, so we can all go back to normal. We can all get back to, you know what I mean, just enjoying wrestling. But dude, same as you, it's Royal Rumble season. We are on the road to WrestleMania, and dude, honestly, I'm actually looking forward to it more this year than I was last year. And obviously, we had Cody last year, so that's saying something.
It is saying something indeed. I feel it just feels wide open this year, and I think that's what makes it even more exciting. So yeah, bring it on. Massive thank you to the chat. You've been keeping us busy for the last hour, 25 minutes. Thank you so much. Superb
MVPs.
comments, questions. There's been many MVPs announced. One of them has been Roy. Good to have you in the chat. Roy says, "Are you staying up 1 a.m. to watch Raw on the debut episode?"
I am, because I'm a loser and I stay up to 1 every week because I'm nearly 40 years old and I still do it. I'm insane.
My hours at work usually have me starting very early, so the chances of me being still awake at 1 a.m. are usually quite slim. So, but good news is right now I'm off on.
Go to bed early, get up at 1, watch Raw, then go to work.
Well, I'm off on Tuesday, so if I don't actually stay up, I can watch it early morning Tuesday. So there's ways and means around it.
You'll be all right, man.
Do you want to review it?
Well, I think that's we'll play it by ear and see how the show goes. Because honestly, we sit there and hype it up, and this could be the greatest Raw ever. It could actually be an absolute dumpster fire, and it's actually the worst Raw ever. So, I mean, depending on what happens, I think if there's enough to talk about and drive a conversation out of it, sure, why not? If not, do a Q&A or something. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Watch this space. Also, AJ Lee, future WWE Hall of Famer. Potentially, I reckon she will be. And reckon we'll get the first Hall of Fame induction announced on Netflix. I think you will be right there, Byron. I'll tell you what, at the end of this video, for the people that are watching right now and the people that are watching on delay, do me a favor. Let me know in the comments section at the end of this video your favorite Royal Rumble match. That's what I want to know from you, your favorite Royal Rumble match. And if we get enough of the same answer, it will be a watch-along, the first watch-along that we do when we do Royal Rumble watch-alongs during this month, because we can do a couple of them. We have a few shortlisted, but you are the one with the ultimate say. What's the first one going to be? Thanks for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. We'll see you for the next video.